it's not going to be as messy, because it is more like of a dry collage. I'm going to give you an example of a dry collage and then a wet collage. And we'll do the wet collage with this piece right here. So let's say in this corner of this wood, not wood, but cardboard, I want to do a wet collage and I want to seal it. So I put the Mod Podge onto it here, add the paper, and then add more Mod Podge on the top. And so the kind of look that you're gonna get with this, it's kind of like the similar thing that's going on right here, that you can see the Mod Podge on top. So this is what I did for my example. Today I'm gonna work on a more of a dry collage. So you can go either way. You can go with the wet collage and just keep on collaging on top of each other like this. Or if you feel like you want to be more neat, you don't want to get it all over the place, then you go with this. But you do have to have a separate piece, or in your area have a place where you can actually do this, so your table doesn't get messy and it's easier for you to clean up when it's time to clean up. So again, right now I'm just working on the background, and then I'll get into the details for the front of the wood panel for our pride collage. If you do go over, it's fine. What you can do is, you want to also have a little rag on the side or some napkins, because sometimes it does get a little bit sticky. If you do go over with your scissors, or if you have an X-Acto knife, that's just extra things that are going to make the collage much easier. And that's how you see. You have a clean cut. Or you can also do this. If I put it right here, I rub it against the wood panel. And then it's going to leave like a little line, so it already sets the newspaper or paper. So I have a clean lined up cut right there. Then you go back over here to your surface where you're doing the Mod Podge. And then you grab it, you paste it onto the panel. Some of the things that you don't want to get are bubbles. You get bubbles maybe when you add a little bit too much. So try to add enough that it pastes, but not like super, like a lot that is like saturated and is dripping on your panel. So if you can see right now, it's a dry collage. And the cool thing about a dry collage is that at the end, if you want to use colored pencils or acrylic on top of it, Sharpie, you could do that too. So yeah, once you finalize doing that, then you start adding your images that you want. Right now, I'm just focusing on getting the background done. And you can still do a dry collage by adding the Mod Podge there, but you just want to be careful that the Mod Podge doesn't go on top of your surface. So just add a little bit of Mod Podge there, and a little goes a long way. Just adding the images. Also, I think when you're working with the background, you can have different words if you want. Like, let's say you wanted to take much more longer time to look at certain words in the newspaper that you want. then you go ahead and do that and create that kind of surface with the words that you want, even images. So, yeah. And then always just try to have one of the hands that's the hand that deals with the Mod Podge, because you don't want to have both hands sticky. And so the hand that's really not sticky is the hand that you kind of like using to press down the image. And building a collage can take you like amounts of hours. I'm more of like a assemblage collage artist. So the work that I do, it's on plexiglass and they're transfer images. But I mean, a collage can take you from an hour to like more than an hour. It's just depending what surface you're working on. If you're working on a bigger surface, this one is a smaller surface, you can get into more detail, or it can be like a very like vague and get down to the point type of collage. And you know, don't stress out about like, oh, does this look right, does this look wrong? It's your collage, is your message. So whatever you're saying, like, your collage is gonna express it. What's fun about the collages, you can do them with your family too. Kids love them. They do get a little messy, but I mean, it's nothing that you can't like go wash your hands or, you know, not clean up after you're done, you know. It's Mod Podge, and it's similar to glue. This project can be done also with glue, but I usually use this because this is something that I've actually worked with my own projects. But also experiment with glue. I've done it with matte medium. There's gloss or matte. This one that we're using is more of a matte type of Mod Podge. So, you know, experiment with different. I've never tried adding glitter to my collages, but it's an idea that you can also do, like practice it. If you would add the glitter, you probably want to add it while like it's a wet collage. So let's say this was the wet area, that's where you like will sprinkle the glitter. And most of it is just filling it up, and it could be an abstract background or it can be a more realistic. You can get into detail with it. It can just be the words of the newspaper. It doesn't really have to have any color. You can use magazines. If you wanted to do a family collage, then you know, you make photocopies of your family pictures, and you can use that too. I like newspaper because you always have it around. I mean, at least I have much of it around, or you can just probably buy one for like $1 and it has a bunch of words. Some people like to get into detail of finding certain words and expressing their collage with words. So it just depends what route you want to take with the collages. Also, when you're collaging, I personally recommend wood panels or even cardboard, just because it's easier to apply. That does not mean that you cannot use a canvas. It's just that the canvas has little spots that it won't let you apply onto a clean surface. You could certainly do it on a canvas. You probably want to prepare it with gesso, and that's just so it's easier for you to paste it, because doing it with the canvas, it's probably going to give you bubbles, and in the long term, like when you have bubbles into your collages, that's kind of art piece that probably will start breaking down, like the little bubbles will open up, so that doesn't have like a longer lifespan of a collage. And again, I'm just using some pieces that I had already cut down, but let's say that kids are not ready to use scissors, then have them cut their pieces down with their hands. So why I asked you to have this water here is just because if, let's say you were just starting and you're just, you happen to take more time just cutting out more pieces, then you kind of want to clean this out, because this is acrylic base or similar to acrylic. It will dry up, and then you'll have, then you won't have that brush to use it again because it dries up, and it's kind of hard cleaning it once it's kind of dry. So yeah, try to keep your brush in the water if you feel like that you're not going to use it in the next couple minutes, right? If it's just right now that you're working and it's active, it's good, but always check, because it can dry up and then that's not going to help you with the collage process. So right here, kind of almost finished up this part, which is the background. But again, like I was just telling you, kits that you feel like are not ready to use scissors, then go ahead and just have them cut them up with their hands to pieces. They can do more like an abstract type of collage, just cutting up pieces. The great thing about this is that you don't really need to like spend like a lot of money with just making a collage. Most likely you just have to invest in some brushes and the Mosh Posh. But we have images around the house all the time. You have magazines, you have probably newspaper, arts and crafts paper. So it's a good project to go to for the kids. So now I'm getting to the detail of like the collaging with pride. So it doesn't have to be an image completely like this. You can get into details of cutting in between and cutting off what you need or what you like from the piece, the picture. You can certainly like go ahead and print it out and make it bigger, right? If you wanted an image of something bigger. And yeah. So right now I'm gonna spend maybe like a couple minutes just cutting the images that I want, then just placing it on top to see where I want what and what do I need and what do I don't like, what's not necessary to me. So that's kind of like you already got your background. Now you're working on what is your message and where do you want your colors, where do you want the images of the folks that you want to have on your collage. Just cut out your selection of images for right now. So as you're cutting, you're kind of like putting it onto the panel and you're kind of already thinking, how do I want it? Right now I have it like this, but maybe at the end of the, when I'm finished cutting, it's like, no, I want this one over here, this one over here. So for right now, just take time to just cut the pieces that you want for your collage. So most of us got similar images, some of us got different images, but it's fine. The cool thing about it is that we're all getting similar images. At the end of the day, like each one of us is gonna have like a different type of collage and expression to it. So you don't have to have like so many images to create a good collage. It can just be a couple, you know. Also, when you're doing your collage, try to focus on how does the collage flow, right? Do I want everything in the center? Do I want it to be at an angle where it's a triangle and it speaks a message that it's from the top and it's telling you a story in a circular way? Or do I want it to be in a row, you know? So don't always think about like collages and paintings and pieces like this is my focal point. Think about how you structure it and where do you want your audience eyes to go when you're collaging or when you're making a creative piece. So yeah, when I'm working in newspaper, I always like to work with more black and white pictures because it pops them out. But if you feel like you want more of a colorful type of collage, then you know, it's a personal choice when it comes to printing whatever images that you want. And as I said, like mentioned it before, you can also, if you do a dry collage, you can use at the end of it or at one point you can introduce acrylic to it. Say you want to write your own message, then you can do that. If it's a dry collage like what we have here and it's not wet, then you can use a Sharpie to write a message onto your collage. And also, just because I'm cutting all these images, it doesn't precisely mean that I will be using all images, but it's always better to have more images than less. And then again, there's different types of collaging. There's the arts and crafts type of collage, and then there's the more artistic and more refined like collaging where it becomes an art piece. It's not just an arts and crafts piece. So kind of like the style that you're doing today is more like a professional level where you're not just pasting and not thinking of what you're doing. You're looking at what the value of the images are and how it becomes an art piece and what you're expressing. So yeah, think about that. Doesn't mean that the arts and crafts collage are not good. It just means like there's different types of collages, not just one way of collaging. And then what I'm teaching you today are just some of my ideas, but like, let's say you come up with another idea and you're collaging, experiment with it, you know? If it doesn't come out like the way you want it, at least you know that you experiment with whatever item you did, and doesn't work out, doesn't work out. If it does, then you created a new style of making collages. Now, I usually like to do like clean cuts, but again, like you don't have to be like that. That's just my personal choice. If you just wanted to do a very quick cut, then that's up to you. Some people like don't have patience to do all like the cutting, so I mean, it's whatever you can do. Plus, it just takes practice, you know. So kids shouldn't be getting frustrated if they don't have a clean cut. Like, it's okay if you don't have a clean cut. You should be enjoying the project, not frustrated because you can't get a good cut. Anyways, I think I have enough images, so this is what I'm gonna use, and I kind of like what I got going on here. I might use this or might not. I kind of feel like I want to cut this part off here and maybe separate these hands here and then split them up somehow into the collage. Say I wanted that here. Yeah, and as I see, like, these are kind of like the similar colors, so I kind of don't want to have them on the same side. So look at that when you're like adding the colors. You don't want to have too much of the same thing in the same areas. And maybe like, look at this, just go somewhere like that. Okay, so now I have that set up. The next part is kind of start pasting everything. You do have to kind of like move it into another area, so make space for that, so you can do that. So I already have that set up, and that's kind of like what I want. So you see how like Marsha P. Jackson right here, Johnson, I'm sorry. I don't know where Jackson came from. Marsha P. Johnson has her cut like right here because of how it was print. So what you want to do, if you were to use that and you still want to use the image, again, I kind of want to fix it so it blends into the wood panel. So it just doesn't look like, oh, it's something that I cut off and it doesn't fit into the piece. So that means this right here would also have to be cut. All right, so I'm gonna start with this one right here. Just move this out of the way. And this is already dry, so it's perfect because then I can just add my image there. And add enough. And then this is a technique that I use. It's just I use one finger and I just pick it up. That way I'm not using all my fingers. So that's kind of like the dirty fingers. Like my dirty fingers with Mosh Polish are these two fingers. And these are just like little tactics. So it makes it easier for you to collage instead of getting all your fingers dirty. So we got that there. Then I'm gonna get into this one here. And then just using the area where I'm gonna use this side, right? Where your other side, like your clean side, doesn't get dirty. see this. So I'm putting these to the side because I'm gonna try to paste these ones first. Then I'm just flipping it over. This is already dry. So with this little piece is gonna be more delicate, so you want to be careful when you pick it up not to break it off. If that's, you see? So you use that one finger to pick it up. And then you paste it. So it's much more delicate, this little stick, so you wanna be careful with it because it might stick it to your fingers and rip off, just kind of like what happened right now. But it's okay, it's in already. And different fun themes that I like to do with my students is, I think I've done it in one class where I'm reading a book of a certain person. Let's say it was Martin Luther King, right? You're reading the book for the child, and then they're collaging about the person. So they're doing two things. They're creating art, but they're also learning about the history of someone. And it can be with anything. So you can make different collage times and projects where you can read a book and make a collage. Or for us older people, if you want to collage about someone and also learn about it, maybe you're listening to a documentary while you're collaging, and that will inspire you to make the collage. So I'm leaving this all the way to the end because this is the one that I want on top. So before I get this in, I have to do all the pieces behind. And fixing this. There he is. So even though you got like a bunch of images, it doesn't mean you need to use all the images. Maybe you can use those images for another collage like you do. As in, I like to give options to my students because then you know that you're not stuck with one page. But even if you were stuck with one page, you can create a collage out of that. It's all about your creativity and what kind of a message you're trying to bring, or just trying to express something, you know? Places where you can find these items, you can get it from Amazon. I traditionally don't do much Amazon, but it's just because I'm always just kind of like getting what I need, like in the moment. But like, you can find it at Michael's, you can get it on Amazon. Let's see what else, other places. Any arts and crafts place. Top of my head right now is just Michael's because that's just my to-go store. Like when I need one item, most of the items that I have, I usually have, but sometimes I run out of like certain things, so I just go to the store quickly. But you know, Michael's does pick up, so you can probably order your Mosh Podge there, or you can wait for Amazon and get it delivered home. The wood panels we did get at the, I believe it was Amazon, but it just depends. Usually these things are wood panels for sure you can find on Michael's or you can find in Amazon, and it doesn't have to seriously be a store-bought panel. It can be like a scrap of piece of wood that you probably had at home and you create it into a collage. You can pretty much collage into anything. I've tried different things. I work with plexiglass, so that's a different way of collaging, but yeah, you can collage pretty much on anything. I just feel like as long as this is a flat surface, it's better, because then you don't have to deal with like the texture behind. Like canvases always have texture, and again, I think I mentioned it before, you can prepare the canvas, but I just like to get into the project, and like plexiglass works for me, wood panels, cardboard. And then again, it's cardboard, but it will stand the whole collaging, and then when it's done, you can frame it, and people won't even notice it was cardboard. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a collage. The only time you do spend a lot of money making collages is you want certain pictures to be printed out in certain color, images that you won't have in a magazine or a newspaper. So now I have like my whole like pride collaging there. So now I'm just gonna take time to see if I'm missing some colors in certain areas, or if I have certain like words inside the newspaper that I kind of just want to collage onto that. But I'll give you an example of the other collage that I did, and it's way different from what I got here. It has more color and more of the similar things. So then again, you can see here in this collage that we have Marsha P right here again, right? And she's facing that way, sharing kind of the direction that you kind of want the image or the piece is starting right here, and it's taking you this way, right? But then once it takes you this way, if you can see it, you're learning how to read artwork, right? So it takes you this way, and then these colors bring you down this way, and this right here, this image is taking you back this way. So that's intentional, making an intentional decision to create these colors to circle around the panel, so people's eyes go like that. Because this is kind of bright, probably people, if they would look at this, your eye attracts to this first, but it's okay. You just have to work it out. And I had like the darks in the back. So yeah, I'm just gonna take a couple more minutes to finalize this, but we should be wrapping this collage up soon. So this little site, I'll show you what I was talking about, how like you just can create the collage by just adding little pieces. So I'm cutting little pieces right here, and then we're gonna just paste those there. To do this, I would recommend that you have a space in your working area where you just add the Mod Podge. And then, yeah, try not to leave your brush in here, because then when you pick it up, it's gonna erase like a lot of Mod Podge. So leave it to the side, and if you're not using it for a long time, like then leave it inside of the water. When you do take it out of the water, you might want to clean it up with a rag, because it's gonna be dripping in a lot of water, and you want more on the Mod Podge, less water. So I have Mod Podge there. I created little pieces, cut down, and just adding them right here. What you can also do, that's just one option. You can also do is add the Mod Podge here, only in the area that you need it, and then just add your pieces there. But if you're gonna add them on top of each other, you most likely want to do this here, because this only gives you a layer of Mod Podge. Right? You just and if your collage is too wet, it has too much Mod Podge, what you gotta do is let it dry before you work on it. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of Mod Podge on your hand. So yeah. So since I don't have a lot of color, I can introduce a little bit more color to it. But that's just a personal choice. I think now I'm just going into the small details of finalizing the piece. So maybe some of these would be nice around here. And so if it dries up, just add a little bit more. And pick it up and just add it there. So I kind of don't like this to be overlapping, so if it has space, then you could put it under. That's one way, or you have to cut that little corner to make it seem like it's behind and not in front of that banner. So maybe this one goes over here. So So yeah, when you're shopping for Mod Podge and you know you're not gonna do like a big project and it's just some like one-time project, you don't have to get the biggest Mod Podge. You can probably get the 4 ounce, or I think 32 might be too much. I mean, now as you're trying to make collages every day, then that's a good size. So you don't need to buy like the biggest Mosh Posh. The small one will get you enough. For this one, we use probably like this much. This is good enough for a couple more collages. So yeah, that's just like when you're shopping for the Mosh Posh. Brushes, I'm using this one because it's easier to get to the surface, to cover the surface and paste it. If you're cool with small brushes, then that's fine too. I usually like these ones because they're easier for me to work with and wash. Yeah. And I think I'm about done. I think I just want one more message right there. And then I can go over the cleaning process of the brush. So let's see. And then again, like, your collages don't always have to be about a theme. I like for my students to do a theme projects, but if you just feel like collaging, you have a bunch of magazines, newspapers, and you just want to collage, then that's a different way of approaching. Also, there's people that collage according to finding words, collaging with words, collaging with color, which means you're finding different colors that match with each other or coordinate to create your collage. There's the collage of portraits. People make portraits with collages, which means that you need to find different tones and colors in newspapers and magazines to do like a portrait. You can do a portrait of yourself, of a person, of a dog. It's just getting more into detail of finding the tones. And then it takes a little longer, but once they're done, they're awesome. They're beautiful. Okay, so since I still have a little bit of time here, I'm gonna show you quickly how, because if you do have a dry collage and you don't have a wet collage just means for me like that you sealed the collage with the Mosh Posh. So it doesn't mean that I can't apply a Sharpie to it. I can actually do it. And it's gonna have like a little glare right there, right? So if I wanted to add these, because with this collage over here, I kind of added petals to this collage. So with the Sharpie, you can come in and draw onto it. Right? So that's how the Sharpie would react to that. You could also use acrylic. With the dry one, it's kind of like if you're drawing on actual paper. So let's say I want to outline this piece right here, right? Do that. And it just pops it out, helps it out. Let's see, this is kind of like a bigger brush, but let me use a pen. Say I want some flowers right here in the back. And because the collage is not a wet collage, it's more of a dry one, then I can draw like little flowers back there, right? And if I wanted to paint those, I can actually paint them. So yeah, like I drew a couple there. Say I wanted to do some shapes right here. There's a couple duals. You can do that. It doesn't really pop out a lot, but it's just because I'm using the blue one, maybe a different color, or if you get into glitter pens, it's just your choice of, it's also about experimenting. So you want to keep some lines here. Go ahead and do that. Or if you had a quote and you probably didn't like some of the stuff here, but you have something to say, so you leave a space on your wood panel, you can write your quote. So that's that part of the collage. These are two different types of collages you can make, right? Side one and side two. And then we went over the pen. You can do it, or the Sharpie. You can do it with. So that's the collage. Clean up. If you're gonna reuse your brush, if you wanna maintain your brush, if you keep it clean, it'll probably last you a while, a long time. So I'm doing it with the cup because I have a cup in front of me, but if you have a sink, just go into the sink. And just clean it up. If you have soap, you can add a little bit of soap. So what I'm talking about when the Mod Podge turns into plastic is that if you leave it out for too long, and I don't know if you can see it here, but you're gonna see little plastic started creating on this area. You do not want that, because that's just gonna mess up your brushes and you're gonna have to end up buying more brushes. So you kind of also want to be mindful of your brushes. Today I didn't really ask you to have your brush inside of the water, but if it's a project that's gonna take more than an hour and it's going in depth for like a couple more hours, you might want to be cleaning it often so that does not happen to your brush. Yeah. Then after that, you just rinse it a couple more times. Then you got a clean brush, is ready to go for the next time. And that's it. So again, there's no right way of approaching the collage. I usually like to just cut out the pieces or envision something first and then add the pieces, and then start using the Mod Podge and layering and stuff. If you just want to start the collage and start pasting and then figure out what your collage is about, that's good too. So there, you got a clean brush. Well, there you go. One collage here, another collage here. Again, my name is Elvia Aguirre. Thank you for joining us with Collaging with Pride. I hope you guys enjoyed this workshop, and see you guys next time. Thank you. Can you talk now?